the South African Post Office has invoked the Section 189 process of the Labour Relations Act as it seeks to retrench 6,000 workers. The Communications Workers Union has rejected the proposal, saying this is a ploy to destroy the post office network, to deprive ordinary South Africans of a critical service. Well, to give us the backstory to this decision, I'm joined by Nomkhita Mona. She's the CEO at the South African Post Office. A very good afternoon to you, ma'am. Thank you very much for joining us. So we understand that the Communications Workers Union says that while it was in discussions with the post office management, that is yourself, regarding reduced salaries, something to the tune of 40%, and also reduced working hours, suddenly there's an about turn, and now you're talking about 6,000 retrenchments. What happened in the interim for you to have to take such a drastic decision?
Good afternoon, and thank you for having us. The decision is not a sudden decision. There has not been a sudden change. In 2021, at around October, we finalized a strategy called the Post Office of Tomorrow. And within that strategy, we had worked out that the post office at the time had 15,600 workers. And we had calculated that we would need to lose at least 6,000 people. And our plan was that as we implement the strategy, we would roll that out over 2 years so that you could then remove 3,000 in the first year and the following one. So that one has always been on the table ever since. And even the strategy itself was, workshop with all the unions. They have the copies. We have had discussions around them. So absolutely nothing is new about the number. But what we were also doing in the meantime was to look at what other alternatives could we come up with, short of a proper Section 189, which is the retrenchment process. And those are the alternatives that we have been discussing with them over time. But what also happened was that we then approached the CCMA for advice. We said, this is the situation in the company. Eventually, we will get to a Section 189, but we wanted to start with things like voluntary severance package and also the 3-day work week that you've mentioned, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And the advice, yes.
So Ms. Mona, let me come in there. The Post Office posted a net loss of 2.2 billion rand for the 2020-2021 financial year. And of course, it's been seeking assistance from National Treasury as well. And of course, this is not sustainable. And hence you say you have a turnaround program. But apart from just looking at headcount, what else is involved in the turnaround strategy?
Firstly, we do have to start with the headcount for the simple reason that at SAPO currently, 68% of our expenditure, is employment costs. So it's really an unsustainable business model. But over and above that, we are quite excited by the strategy that we put on the table because it will change the fortunes of the post office once it is implemented. However, it also needs to be funded to be implemented properly. But beyond that, we over the years, and that also is the main problem that we're having. In fact, administration. And the administrator, just before he left the post office, he put within that strategic turnaround plan, there was a requirement to retrench 5,700 people, even in 2012, 13, 14. But that was not carried over because the executives that came in later, they then felt, do not retrench the people because we want to expand and grow the business. And this decision has been, it should have been taken that time ago. So whilst we are dealing with the cost containment, we do need to start looking at how else are we going to bring in revenue, and hence the strategy is important.
So last year, a High Court ordered that the Post Office pay into workers' medical aid scheme, Post Office workers' medical aid scheme to the tune of over 40 million rand. Did the Post Office follow through with that? Were you able to fulfill that obligation?
Yes, it was actually over 40. It was 40 every month at the time. So yes, we have fulfilled that obligation. What is now outstanding is the historical debt that was incurred around 2020, which we are in discussions with the medical aid about. But in terms of actually paying medical aids, the manner in which we currently are struggling, we are this month behind on our contributions again for the month of end of February. So it is a problem that we do need to take drastic actions. We have to cut the cost. There's no other way.